Yep. Orphaned objects, SSRS watcher causing a whole installation to stall. How come Scom is so sensitive? Man, how come Scom is so sensitive? That's a great question. It is sensitive, isn't it? Orphaned objects are a problem, right? And the where I see orphaned objects the most is in customers who have extended Windows computer classes, or worse, extended other classes. I've been working with a customer this past couple weeks who've extended they've extended the logical disk class, they extended the DB engine class. You have to be really, really careful. I mean, I know why they're doing it. It's a great reason. They want to add properties that we don't expose to existing classes for the purposes of grouping. There are ways to do that the right way without extending classes. And so I usually see extended classes being the root cause of orphaned objects. But I know what you're saying with the config getting broken. You know, that it doesn't happen that often. I think it's actually improved quite a bit in 2019 and 2022. The only time I run into it anymore is extended classes. And usually when we get that problem fixed and optimized, we don't have that problem anymore. But yeah, the config service can be sensitive to orphaned objects. It can also be sensitive. We used to have trouble when a health service didn't have a display name in the database. As soon as it would get to that record, boom, config would die. So yeah, those are important things. And that's actually part of that whole snapshot conversation that I mentioned earlier. So let's see. What else did I miss? Copy of my slides. I think, don't you guys make that available?
Yep. Yeah, those will be available, and there'll be links to review all the to view the whole presentation again, the video.
Okay, so somebody asked if I would add discovery of those reg values in my Scom management MP. I'm actually trying to avoid adding too many properties to Scom management. The Scom has an issue where when a class has a lot of properties and those properties each are text and they offer, 255 characters each, that view gets really slow. So some customers may have noticed the Scom management agent view, if they've got over like 2,000 or 3,000 agents, takes a long time to populate. There's a trick. If you go to my workspace and create your own state view and scope it to that class, it is 100 times faster. I don't know why. I'd love somebody in the product group to be able to look at that and tell me why. But I'm sure it's something that the console does differently in my workspace, but that's the workaround I do. So I'm very sensitive to how many values I'm going to add to Scom management. I'd rather them be monitors in the Scom Health MP. So yeah, that is kind of the direction. And then let's see. DFS share that replicates to all managed servers, that's fantastic. Yep. Redundancy is great. You just want a single source of truth for your Scom share, for your media and executables and all of that kind of stuff.
And related to that, I just mentioned that, a great place to store all your management packs is in the MP Studio Store database.
Oh, there you go. Yep, absolutely. Yep. And let's see. So monitoring for autogrow, that's a great question. I haven't thought about that, but I certainly could write one for the OpsDB and the data warehouse for the DB and the files. The DB file and the log. And you would be able to set it whether you want it on or whether you want it off. So that's Heather. Oh no.
Did we just lose Kevin? Or is he rebooting?
Sorry, guys. My internet just...
Apparently it's still resetting. We'll give Kevin a minute here. I can see you moving, Kevin.
My internet is flaking out, which never happens. It happened yesterday for the first time in like a year. So
And
I
it
apologize.
happened for Harold this morning. He lost his fiber
Yeah.
connection at the
Yeah.
office.
I'm fiber as well. And I hope this isn't a common thing. Let me set up a ping so I can know that this is happening. So yep.
Maybe I'll
All
maybe I'll
right.
just stay unpayable. And I think it's happened again, folks. At this point, we're supposed to be doing a wrap up here. So I'm just going to share a screen here, bring up this, and switch the screen. Why does it always do this? All right, there's a trick to this. Display settings. There we go. Sorry about that. So we're going to do an open Q&A here, but before people start to leave, and I hope you'll hang around even if Kevin's internet is acting up, there'll be a survey that comes up at the end, and we'd ask you to please fill in that survey. It's really important to us to know what you want to see, how you feel about the current one, and what you want to see in the next stuff. The recording slides and the other resources will be made available to everybody who registered, so don't worry about that. You'll get that. We want to thank not just you for attending, but we want to thank all our presenters as well. So a big thanks to everybody. And
Don't tell
Hey,
me
everyone.
we just lost Mike as well.
Oh no.
I know.
Can you hear me
Kevin
now?
is back. Yeah,
I'm hotspotting through my phone, so I had to switch. Someone will have to enable my. Oh no, my camera is up. Okay, good. Yep. All right. Let me get back to chat and Q&A. So I don't see anything in Q&A.
I think you
And
were
so-
reading the one from Heather Gonzalez.
Yeah, let me get back up there. Oh, there we go. Monitoring for auto grow. Yeah, I think that's a future enhancement that we can get to. Yeah, it's a great question. Something that, we should probably do, because I recognize that gets changed, and even the auto growth setting optimization, right? We could monitor for. Let's see. Fixing an issue on a Unix agent. We would have to take that offline, Abdul. You can send me a message through my blog if you'd like to. I can see someone already responded. Resetting the view. Monitoring Kevin's internet connection. That's funny. And let's see. When do you recommend T-log backups? So for full recovery model, really what that comes down to is how many transactions do you have in an hour, right? And so if typically that's going to be once an hour to once every 15 minutes is what I. So for large customers that I work with that have 200 gig ops DBs and monitoring 12,000 Windows servers, every 15 minutes minimum for a T-log backup, because we need to clear the log that fast, right? When you're in full recovery model. I can't imagine doing it less than hourly personally. So if you're able to do a T-log backup once a day, that's crazy, because I would think that would fill up your transaction log unless it really is allowed to grow quite big or you have a very small environment. If you're talking about just database backups, I recommend a daily database backup. And then the warehouse sometimes gets so big, customers only want to back it up once a week. That's fine. You just understand if you had to restore your obviously being your database should be restored from very similar backup times. So in a case like that, you may not be, you could restore a ops DB backup from Friday and a warehouse backup from Sunday, but they will be out of. So you'll have some data problems where state change reports and availability reports don't work correctly anymore until you get past that period. So I recommend daily backups, but that's, I think everyone kind of has to make that decision for themselves. Let's see. API, large customers in full mode, lock 10 to 20 minutes as well. Yeah. It can go fast. Absolutely. GitHub area. I agree, because my stuff is not really open source, right? It's me, I own it. I take feedback from the GitHub, and sometimes people publish fixes and I'll check those in if they're good ones. But it would be neat to have a central repository for all kinds of open source stuff. I've just never seen that. I mean, even inside Microsoft, we used to talk about that all the time, and we never were able to have like a central location to do stuff. Yeah. MP Author Free Edition is learning. Yep, that's a Silect question.
Yeah, I would let Harold answer that, but basically, we license on a per named user basis. So you should be able to use a copy of MP Studio or MP Author Professional at home for the same user as the work environment. Hopefully that helps.
There's another question for the state process maintenance mode table. Is there a known issue for excessive growth and grooming timing out? Yes, there is a known issue. We did a lot of fixes in 2019 update rollups, and 2022 includes those. I don't know if they made it into UR10. I want to say some of them did. But so first, if you're on Scom 2016, get to the latest update rollup for sure if you're not. Secondly, move to a newer platform, right? Because 2016 is next to fall out of support. But lastly, maintenance mode never had a problem in the data warehouse until customers started automating maintenance mode. They started doing lots of scheduled maintenance mode, which was new for Scom 2016. And then some customers have implemented SCCM based maintenance mode where I've published some management packs that look at your SCCM maintenance windows, and they'll trigger maintenance mode from that. And if you had like runaway maintenance windows, we had customers that had like 12 maintenance windows a day. And so all their agents were going in and out of maintenance mode all day long just from implementing that MP. And so you have to know what you're doing before you bring that MP in. And what happened is we saw their data warehouse maintenance mode staging table and their state process tables get stuck because the normal grooming, it couldn't handle the billion records that got written to that environment. So it's much less of an issue in 2019 UR5 and whatever Scom 2022 UR1. But I thought it was fixed in the latest UR for 2016. If it's not, that's going to be an area that needs to be addressed. And the easiest way to address that is just to upgrade the environment.
A lot of head shaking here. Oh, and 2 thumbs up from Bob.
Okay, I think we've caught up with all the questions.
Benny just asked, he still has a few clients with 2008 servers. Is there any other way I could monitor them?
You can monitor them in Scom 2022, right? Just because it's not supported doesn't mean it doesn't work. So if you have 2008 servers or even 2003 servers, as long as you install PowerShell 2.0 on those servers, and PowerShell 2.0 comes with Windows Server 2008 R2 and later. Previous to 2008 R2, if you had Windows Server 2008, you would have to add PowerShell. But as long as you have the PowerShell base 2.0 installed, you can still monitor those in Scom. You just can't, put an older agent on them but I have customers running Scom 2022 monitoring 2008 servers. They just understand, hey, it's not supported, right? Well, I mean, that doesn't make your Scom deployment not supported. It just means you can't raise a support case and file a bug for us to fix something on an operating system that we no longer have support for. But it still absolutely works. You can bring the 2008, any MP that you can import in Scom 2012, you can import in Scom 2022, right? So with very few exceptions, that's the way that it works.
I would remind people though that Server 2008 and old versions like that aren't going to be getting any updates. Even security updates, I'm not sure there's any of those anymore. So you're at a risk. You should encourage people to upgrade, but the reality is some people don't and some people aren't going to.
Yep, that's it. But it can still be done, like Kevin says, so not too worried. I hear sometimes that it's used as a blocker to move Scom up to a newer version because, well, we still need to monitor old stuff. So yeah, then maybe you put an older agent on it and connect it up to your newer Scom, as long as you have a management pack for it. I mean, this might be a moment to think about what you're actually monitoring on those boxes. It might be a nice way to start transitioning, for example, to only monitor the operating system and not all of the 100 different applications that you might have for it. That might be an incentive saying, okay, we are monitoring the OS, we are checking CPU, memory, disk, and nothing more, because all of the other management packs tend to mess up your Scom environment if you load up too many of the 2008 management packs together with all of the modern stuff.
I'm not sure that there's any more open questions here, guys. And there comes one and two. There's some problems with Linux servers on 2022. Need of TLS 1.0 and only TLS 1.2. I'm not sure.
2022, we're getting strange errors now lately. Yeah, I mean, we're moving away completely. Even Linux supports Kerberos now. I'm not aware of any changes in Scom 2022 where it doesn't support or has any requirement for TLS 1.0. My environment monitors Linux with TLS 1.2 enforced. So yeah, I don't know. That sounds like a support case.
Is that an issue perhaps where the version of Linux doesn't support 1.2?
Well, I think if you have the right OpenSSL version, then it should support it. It shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah.
I actually had a customer this week who went to upgrade the TLS versions to only 1.2 on their Scom environment, and one thing actually it fixed their Kubernetes monitoring, so that actually helps as well.
Anthony says there's a hot fix out for Linux on Scom 2019 and 2022.
It was dealing with high CPU, and you had to have UR3 installed, and I think that's included in UR4 and later. So I don't know. There is another hotfix for that, like gosh, I can't remember. It was something very specific though. And let's see if I can find that. But I don't feel like that was no, those are the new management packs. Let's see. So yeah, there was this hot fix. Whoops. That compiler mitigated MPs and packaging, and it's for all the versions of Scom that we recommend, and you have to have the latest update rollups. Except for 2016, you only need UR7. But I don't think that would be related to TLS either. So I'm not really sure. Yeah. Let's see. Why should I upgrade to Scom 2022 when I'm happy with 2019? What am I missing? Probably not a ton. Obviously, it's just all the new stuff that went into 2022. And then knowing that all of the new development for new operating systems is the support for all of that is going into Scom 2022. So if you look at Linux distributions, they're coming out with new ones all the time. We usually do N-1 as well, but at some point, and I think it's usually when it hits the 5-year mark, we will cut off when we go from mainstream support to extended support. We'll stop putting a lot of those new features into the N-1 version of Scom. So I think you're probably pretty good until 2024, which is 2 months away. From that.
No, I think it's actually somewhere in May or something like that. So
yeah,
you still have a little bit, but
yeah. I was being facetious, but yeah, absolutely.
So if I could summarize that, you really do want to upgrade sometime, but it's not pressing, but it should be on your radar. You should be scheduling it. It might be 6 months out, but you don't want to wait forever.
Yeah, that's basically it. Good point, Mike.
I try. Oliver asked, what is the best solution to clean MP dependencies containing dependencies on other MPs we already want to delete? The next version of MP Studio is going to have menu items that will let you see what MPs depend on your MPs, so you can track them down. And I'm guessing that's most likely going to be overrides. And MP Studio already has had for years a feature that lets you move overrides from one MP to another. So it should be able to be used to clean that up fairly well. If not, let us know and we can help.
There's a script out there, and I recommended it. I just did a search and I couldn't find it, but there is a script out there in the blogosphere that someone's written that will, I think it's on Tyson Paul's Monitoring Guy's website, but it will go and find all your MPs with unused references. If they're used, you can't just delete them. You have to go really clean up that XML. But there is a script out there that will go purge all the unused references, because sometimes customers get a lot of unused references and it makes it hard to clean up a managed pack, delete it down the road. So that script I've used to do that. So be aware that that's out there. Product roadmap. Will APM and Scom ever see an update? I doubt it, but I can't really speak to product roadmaps. That's really reserved to the product group, even though people always think that I am. But so that is really reserved for them. But I would be highly surprised, since we haven't made any investments in APM in quite some time.
Yeah.
Any suggestions for what to use for monitor the monitor? And Bob, I see you already kind of wrote to that one.
Just depends on how deep you want to go, right? So I once used Orchestrator just to check, for example, the Windows services on the management servers, right? So you can use Orchestrator for that easily. Because when those stop, then Scom doesn't alert you about it anymore, right? So then you're kind of stuck, but you can use that for that. You can use a script for it as well, of course, which you just run and send an email to yourself. But log analytics was one of those things which I sometimes use as well, for example, just to check if that is sending heartbeats or whatever, if it's sending data through. If it doesn't, then please alert me. It all depends on how deep you want to go. You probably don't want to go as deep as, like 1,000 checks for whatever can go wrong. But if you stay for the just main things, then I think that'll be easily done.
One of my customers did a heartbeat alert. And so I've had several customers actually do this, where they would generate an informational heartbeat alert that didn't show up in the console views for any of their users. But that alert would get generated and sent to their ticketing system. And the ticketing system had a workflow that said if I miss 2 heartbeat alerts, so after 10 minutes go by, if I haven't received a heartbeat alert, then something is wrong with the connection between Scom and the ticketing system, and the incident management system would raise a critical incident and assign that to the Scom team. Because ultimately, that's what you want to make sure is working, right? Is that data is flowing and it's getting down to people who need to digest monitoring.
Yeah.
Any updates come from the Scom assessment through Azure? Doesn't support GMSA. I thought it GMSA support for the Azure Scom assessment. Tyson Paul on Monitoring Guys has a blog post on getting that to work. So I personally don't have any experience with the Scom assessment because I run my own through the data collector tool that I showed you today. I probably am going to get more involved in the Scom assessment since our ecosystem is getting a little bit smaller and smaller as time goes on. But I'm almost positive that Tyson has an example of how to get that to work with GMSA. So check out the monitoringguys.com website blog post for that.
Okay. Delish just asked an interesting question, and 2 people give it a thumbs up. Sometimes I have an issue where I get where agent performance collection stops. Is there a way to monitor when the collection stops?
There actually is. Give me a sec. Oh, I can't get into my lab from my phone. Let me try a different route. All right. I have a back door.
Oh God.
No. Shoot. Let me try one more time. Come on. Let me in.
The fun with home labs, eh, guys?
There we go. Okay.
How many hops do we need?
Yeah. All right.
If I hear a motor.
All right. 20. Oh, this doesn't have the right server. So give me a sec. I don't normally come in through the back door. There we go. One of these days, I'm so afraid I'm going to type my password in clear text on the screen, when I'm doing this. All right. So back to the Scom. There we go. So if you go look at you don't have to use Scom manage. Oh, let's see. I don't have a good way to show this. Let me just go to discovered. I filtered all my views out so I can't see my watchers. Come on. Why is this so slow? There we go. If you look at the health service watcher. Oh, come on now. Not mine. Mine's fast all the time. So if you look at Health Explorer for the health service watcher, I got to figure out where we put it. Maybe in availability. Agent returning data. There are 2 perf monitors, one for performance, one for event, and these actually will query the OpsDB and look for, have I received an event from this agent in X minutes, or have I received performance? So if I know what you're talking about. I've heard this complaint. It doesn't happen often. I didn't is that I assume when we have something disabled by default, it either does something bad, generates too much noise, or we didn't finish it, right? And so I had a customer ask about this, and I went and checked it out. These work, and I couldn't see any negative repercussions to it. So I'm not sure why they're not enabled, unless they were just added at some point, and we just, were afraid to turn something on for fear that it might generate a lot of noise. But you can go look. This runs once an hour, like 7. I don't know why there's a sync time. That seems. Oh, maybe that's for cook down. But it will back and say, go back 6 hours, and if I haven't had any performance data in the database for the last 4 hours, generate an alert. We tested this, and it actually works pretty well. So give it a shot.
That should help. Someone did answer, and it's in the chat, the messaging on a solution for cleaning MP dependencies. So
Tao
he'll
Yang,
keep an
yeah.
eye on that. Oh, was that Tao? Oh, excellent. He
Yeah.
does good work. The only other one I see here is from Kumar. Please, sorry, I can't speak. Please provide location where we can get scripts for PowerShell grid widget. Isn't that already built into PowerShell out grid or something?
It is, but people have been telling me that the PowerShell, some of the PowerShell widgets in the 2022 UR1 web console are broken. So I haven't had time to do a deep dive into that. So I don't know if that's what he's talking about. Otherwise, I've got a blog article on PowerShell dashboards. Yeah. So I don't know that there's a lot of example scripts out there. But there's a guy that has done some old, like if you look at the old Scomathons, one of our ex-PFE, or what we used to be known as PFEs, did an entire session on using these web-based dashboards and PowerShell grid widget dashboards, and he's got a ton of samples out there. So I would go look at the Scomathon videos to get examples of that. But then you also have this blog post if you just want a simple example to learn the process, and I'll throw it into chat.
Okay. Henrik has replied, I haven't had a good experience with those monitors. I presume he was talking about the ones you were just looking at, Kevin.
If not, I'd love to hear about it.
Yeah, no further details.
Yeah. Because Russ Slayton, if anyone remembers that name, Russ Slayton was a Scom PFE, very gifted and talented Scom PFE. He actually was our MP authoring guy. When he left Microsoft, that's when I actually learned MP authoring, because I didn't know anything about it up until that point. That was around the 2012-ish timeframe. So he has written a post on monitoring for this exact condition, and somebody on his blog post pointed out, hey, you already have those built in, and he commented in the blog post, I didn't test them, he just wrote his own solution to do it. So if you Henrik, if you have examples of what doesn't work, or if they're just not reliable, shoot me an email or hit me up on my blog post contact form and let me know, because I'd love to know. Oh, I can't remember the details. Something about not respecting a heartbeat failure, ton of noise. That might be true. The other thing it doesn't necessarily respect is maintenance mode, but technically if the health service is in maintenance mode, the watcher should be in maintenance mode. But you're right, machines that are down, that monitor still going to trigger on a machine that's down, right? So if you've got a machine that's down, so the solution to that is, if you have a machine that's down and it's probably going to stay down, put it in maintenance mode.
Yeah. Okay, seems like that's Bob answering. I don't know that there's anything that hasn't been addressed.
Hey, Bill, it's good to see you around there. I just saw your name pop up. Bill and I used to work together a long time ago. Yeah. Sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like it might.
Looks good.
But do you think that maintenance mode for like a year is a bad idea?
Why do you have an agent on this machine?
Yeah. I mean, I've set them for 6 months before. So I've seen customers build strategies where when new machines got approved, they immediately went into maintenance mode because they weren't production status, but that was a step of getting them certified for production, is that they were in Scom. So I've seen customers do some crazy stuff with extended periods of maintenance mode. It's fine. You're not going to hurt anything, you know, for a box to sit out there in maintenance mode forever. So yeah, I you know, is it a bad idea? I would question why you have the agent on it at all if it's going to be in maintenance mode for a year. But I have some examples where, like, in the certificate management packs, we discover like the main cert authority, and a lot of people will have an offline cert authority, and that's planned. You know, it's probably good to put those in maintenance mode when that, if you're planning to have something offline, which as part of its security model is designed to be that way. So
good thought. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm thinking maybe we should wrap things up now. So I'll thank all of you who are still here, attendees and participants. It's been a wonderful MP University, and I guess we'll see you at the next one. I'm sure there's probably something else Harold would say, but he's much better at that than I am.
It was a great time being here, and it's good that we have this these kind of events. I really love it.
Yeah, thank you, Silect, for putting them on.
Oh, it's our pleasure.